All right, with us now, Republican from Indiana and chair of the House Republican Conference, Congressman Mike Pence, joining the conversation. Good to have you back on the show, sir.
Hey,
morning,
Mike,
guys.
Dick Durbin says this is the largest tax increase in U.S. history. Comment.
Well, I think he said it's the largest tax cut.
Largest tax cut in U.S. history. I'm so thrown off by it. What do you think?
Well, I saw it this morning live on the treadmill, guys, and I almost tripped and flew off the back of the thing. Look, this is $569 billion in tax increases. It mandates that every American buy health insurance, whether they want it or need it or not. It mandates that every American business provide health insurance or relegate their employees to a government-run plan. It's going to add to deficits, add to debt. But, hey, you know, if they want to say that the subsidies, the premium subsidies they're throwing around in here are tax cuts, more power to them.
Well, that's what I want to ask you, though. That's what I want to ask you, though, because he said that there are over $500 billion in tax cuts. Where are the tax cuts coming from? Because I read the CBO report. I also read the report from the Joint Committee on Taxation. I saw nothing about tax cuts. I saw everything about $435 billion in tax increases.
Well, actually, our number was $569 billion in job-killing tax increases during the worst recession in 25 years. You mentioned this morning, Joe, that actually raising taxes on investment at a time that you're trying to get people to invest in America. Look, the American people are not confused about this.
Can I stop you right there really quickly? Because seriously, I do really want a Democrat to come on and explain how a small business owner that has 4 or 5 people makes a wise investment. They make $200,000 a year. And if you make a smart investment, and this is what Washington is saying this week, you make a smart investment that would create jobs and economic growth and opportunity and hope, that word hope, we're going to punish you. But if you make a stupid investment that costs jobs, that makes people unemployed, you can write that off to the IRS.
Yeah, well, I hope you get one of them on to explain the
don't understand
comment this morning. Yeah, look, but I'm just telling you, the American people are not confused about this. I know the White House is understandably taking a victory lap, you know, and Chuck Todd was saying they're all on at least cloud 7 this morning. That's fine, all right? And the president will probably get some modest bump, but I think the American people, frankly, are in a state of shock that the American Congress passed legislation that a decisive majority of this country did not want them to pass. I think the president's hitting the road tomorrow, but, you know, one more speech about the same bad plan isn't going to change any American minds.
Mike Barnicle.
Hey, Congressman, you know, I've heard you and several other members of the Republican Party talk about your concern, a concern I think a lot of people share, with the growth of government. And I think some people view the passage of this health bill as another step in the increasing growth of government. So my question to you is, knowing that you believe that government is too big, give me some specific examples of government programs that you'd like to cut, that you'd like to see disappear.
Obamacare. How's that, Mike?
That's a good start.
Okay.
Well, you know, how about a $1 trillion government takeover of health care that they actually are telling the American people is going to save them money? You know, look, Mike, we're running this year a $1.6 trillion deficit. The American people see a mountain range of borrowing and spending and bailouts and takeovers, and they've had it. I really do think that that we're moving into an environment where Republicans and Democrats and independents are ready for leadership that's willing to sit down at the table and make the hard choices. And I hope to be a part of that in some point in the near future, because we have to be. The truth is, this country is going bankrupt, and by this administration and this Congress, we just greatly accelerated America's pathway to bankruptcy with the launch of this Obamacare program. But the American people are going to turn it around. You know, this will not stand. Let me say that again. This will not stand. But the American people will require that the American Congress and this administration put our fiscal house in order, or they're going to replace the American Congress and replace this administration with men and women who will.
Apart from Obamacare, what about the Department of Agriculture, the Department of the Interior? Are there programs in those departments, apart from Obamacare, that you'd like to see disappear, that you'd like to cut in order to reduce the size of government?
Yeah, well, I can tell you, we proposed, I think, $500 billion in cuts to pay for the cost of repairing the Gulf Coast after Katrina. You can go back and dig that up in the Republican Study Committee's files. You know, I've been on the record. We've proposed a spending limit amendment to the Constitution. I think we can hold overall spending in this government to 20% of GDP through fiscal discipline and entitlement reform without breaking any promises to the American people. But you know, we've got to stop this this continuous growth of government, borrowing, spending, bailouts, takeovers, and standing there and telling the American people that we're actually going to save them money. I mean, really, again, only in Washington, D.C. could you spend $1 trillion and tell the American people you're going to save them money.
Hey, Mike, we saw after this bill passed, there were some congressmen that sent out press releases that said freedom has died tonight. Certainly a lot of people on the right putting this in apocalyptic terms. Can you calm everybody down and just let the Republicans know that they win by arguing the facts and not screaming at the top of their lungs, and that this is actually a very good opportunity to debate the real differences between Democrats and Republicans, what they believe about what the federal government should do, and what small government conservatives believe the federal government should do?
Well, I think the Republicans acquitted themselves very well this weekend in the debate. I think they were plenty calm, but they were firm. And quite frankly, this is an issue of freedom. I mean, you have the federal government mandating that every American buy health insurance, whether they want it or need it or not, and then authorizing the hiring of 16,000 new IRS agents to make sure that Americans are purchasing government-approved health insurance. That is a restriction on freedom. And frankly, you know, requiring Americans to support a health care program that provides public funding for elective abortion is also a restriction of their freedom.
I mean, these are things. Do you not feel?
These are all very real. When you insert the federal government.
Do you not feel confident, Congressman, that given the choice between that vision of America and your vision of America, that this fall your vision of America will prevail?
Absolutely confident. I think that's why the majority of the American people were with us and are still with us on health care reform that gives them more choices and not more government. You know, that, I mean, we can scrap this bill, repeal this bill, and immediately start over by allowing Americans to purchase across state lines, pass medical malpractice reform, cover pre-existing conditions like the one your beloved son has, by strengthening state funds. We don't need to answer this with more government, more deficits, and more debt, and that's what Congress and the administration did yesterday.
So you support the pre-existing part of this bill and some of these other reforms?
Well, not the way they did. My wife had a pre-existing condition. I lost my job 15 years ago. My wife was pregnant with our third child, and we had to go to the state guarantee fund. It was the insurance of last resort in many states. And we bought the insurance there so she could go to term in the hospital. It was very, very expensive, though. What Republicans have proposed is let's pass medical malpractice reform and use the savings in block grants to the states to strengthen those funds. You know, we can answer this with more choices and more freedom, not more government. And again, I want to say, Obamacare, this will not stand. The American people are going to push back hard, and I don't know if it's in the near term or the long term, but we're going to give the American people a health care system built on freedom.
All right, Congressman Pence, thank you very much for your perspective.
Thank you, Mike.
When we come back.